dear friends, we are back with our Icelandic tour, day number 2. As we promised, I would like to tell you a little about the bed and breakfast guest house where we stayed. Beache guest house is located right on Highway 1 in the central Iceland, which is very convenient because most of the main attractions are along this route. It is a very clean and comfortable place, and the owners are amazing people. The guest house has beautiful decorations both outside and inside, and there is free parking right in front. The rooms are clean and cozy with a lovely view from the windows. At this time of year, there is almost daylight even early in the morning, which makes the atmosphere even more special. Inside the house, everything feels very welcoming. You can clearly see that the owners truly care about their guests. But the most amazing part was breakfast. There was a huge variety of food. It was even hard to describe since almost everything was included. And what we appreciated most of was that the food was fresh and healthy. This day was also special for us because it was International Vyshyvanka Day. This is how we started our day. On the second day of our trip, we decided to travel along the south coast of Iceland towards the famous glacier lagoon Jökulsárlón. From the place we stayed, it's about 340 kilometers, roughly 210 miles, and takes about 4.5 to 5 hours of drive. However, because we wanted to stop and see several attractions along the way, it took us much longer to reach our main destination. When you travel in Iceland, it is almost impossible to drive directly to your destination. The landscape changes constantly and there are beautiful places everywhere. One of the first major stops on our route was Seljalandsfoss, one of Iceland's most famous waterfalls. As we continued driving along Route 1, we could clearly see how the landscape was changing. The southern part of Iceland is surprisingly green and full of life, with fields, farms, and many waterfalls flowing down from the cliffs. From time to time, we stopped to take pictures. In some places, the land was very flat, with large agricultural fields and grazing sheep. In other places, the scenery suddenly became more dramatic, with cliffs and waterfalls appearing almost everywhere. When we arrived at Seljalandsfoss, we found it to be a large area where visitors can walk around and explore. The walking paths around the waterfall are very well maintained, and as we followed the trail, we discovered several small waterfalls nearby. Spring was clearly arriving in Iceland. Many white flowers were already blooming along the paths and fields. Some of them looked very familiar to us because they resemble flowers we also see in Canada. We also noticed patches of wild thyme, which grows naturally in Iceland and gives a gentle fragrance when you walk through the grass. This signs of spring lifted our spirit, even though the weather was changing rapidly, as it often does in Iceland. As we continued driving along the south coast, we were getting closer to another Iceland's known waterfalls, Skógafoss. From the road, you can already see the powerful white wall of water falling from the cliff. Skógafoss is one of Iceland's most famous waterfalls. It's beautiful in every season and it's not very far from Reykjavik, so many people come here every day. It is also easy to visit because the area is well maintained and Skógafoss is very impressive. The waterfall is about 60 meters high and around 25 meters wide, creating a powerful wall of water that falls straight from the cliff. It is fed by the Skóga River, which originated from a strong, constant volume of water. First, we walked around the area and went closer to the waterfall. The water is extremely powerful and majestic. Near the waterfall, the river flows very fast and strongly, and you can really feel the energy of the water. After that, we followed the path and climbed the stairs to the top of the waterfall. A long staircase of about 500 steps leads to the top of the cliff. From there, you can see the river continuing inland through a beautiful valley and many smaller waterfalls upstream. From above, you can see how the river changes from very rapid and powerful near the edge to calmer as it continues across the landscape. At the top, we saw beautiful blue lupine flowers, which are very common in Iceland during the summer. The fields of blue flowers look absolutely stunning, so of course we stopped to take some pictures. There is an old Icelandic legend that Viking settler hid a treasure chest behind the waterfall. According to the story, locals once found the chest but only managed to pull off the ring candle, which is now kept in a museum in Skógar. We spent some time walking around and simply enjoying the landscape. Watching the waterfall and listening to its sound can be very calming. The power of nature there creates a very special feeling. After that, we realized that we were hungry, so we decided to have a dinner at a local restaurant with a view of the waterfall. It was a wonderful experience enjoying the meal while looking out the window at Skógafoss. I ordered fish with vegetables and my husband ordered lamb. We also had delicious root soup and of course we shared our meals. The dinner cost about $100, but the food was very tasty and the experience was absolutely worth it. After dinner, we continued our journey to the next stop of our route, the famous black sand beach near the village of Beache. Very close to the beach, there is another remarkable place, the promontory called Dyrhólaey, which is well-known lighthouse. The closer we came to the coast, the more dramatic the landscape became. You can really see the power of nature here. Massive cliffs and rocks formations rise above the ocean, and the lighthouse sits on the top of one of these cliffs, almost like a guardian between land and sea. The Dyrhólaey lighthouse was originally built in 1910, and the current lighthouse structure was dated from 1927. It stands high atop a rocky cliff overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. From this point, you can see that the coastline is divided into different areas. In one direction, you see green hills covered with moss. In another, you see the dramatic black beach and powerful Atlantic Ocean. On one side, there is the more visited black sand beach, and on other, a vast stretch of coastline that feels wild and untouched. The sand is black because it was formed from volcanic lava and cooled and broke down into fine particles over thousands of years. One of the most famous natural formations here is the large stone arch carved by the sea through the cliff. The road leading up to the lighthouse is well maintained and you can drive almost to the top. The ocean here is very powerful. Sometimes it looks calm and peaceful, only for huge waves to suddenly crash against rocks. You can see caves and grottos in the rock formations created by the constant action of wind and waves. The cliffs themselves are made of black basalt, which gives the whole landscape a very dramatic appearance. It is better to stay a safe distance from the edge of the cliffs and from the shoreline because the waves here can be very unpredictable and extremely powerful. These cliffs are also alive with wildlife. Thousands of seabirds nest here during the season, most of them seagulls, but other seabirds live along these cliffs. If you enjoy watching birds, you could easily spend hours here observing them flying above the cliffs and the ocean. Some of these birds migrate very long distances and even travel to Africa for the winter. Small Icelandic wildflowers also grow on the rocks, adding touches of colors to this otherwise dark volcanic landscape. From the top of the cliff, the view is truly breathtaking. In one direction you see a wide valley and a vast black sand beach with dramatic rock formations stretching along the shore. In the other direction lies the endless Atlantic Ocean, powerful and constantly moving. Even so, the wind can be strong here. It does not disturb the feeling of peace. The landscape is so impressive that you almost stop noticing the change in weather, the wind, the mist, or even a little rain. It feels like the perfect place to pause, to breathe, to watch nature. You can sit quietly on the cliff, listening to the ocean and the birds, almost as if you are meditating about the sea. This is a place where you can truly feel the strength, beauty, and wild spirit of Icelandic nature. One of the most impressive places we visited was the famous Reynisfjara. This is one of the most dramatic and attractive beaches in Iceland, thanks to its magnificent, surreal surroundings. Unlike most beaches in the world, the sand here is completely black. This unusual color comes from volcanic basalt, which forms when lava from ancient eruptions cooled quickly and then gradually broke down into small particles over thousands of years. When we first arrived, the thing that shocked us most was the power of the Atlantic Ocean. The waves here are incredibly strong and unpredictable. From a distance, it may look as if you are standing at a safe place, but suddenly a powerful wave can rush much farther onto the beach than you expect. These waves are sometimes called sneaker waves. They arrive unexpectedly and can pull people into the ocean within seconds. The entire beach is covered with large black stones and rocks of different shapes. Many of them are round and smooth because the constant movement of the ocean has shaped them. The landscape is very beautiful, but walking there is not always easy because of the uneven rocks. Many visitors are tempted to walk close to the water or climb on the rocks to take pictures. However, this beach is considered one of the most dangerous beaches in Iceland. Unfortunately, several serious accidents have happened here over the years, mostly because people underestimate the power of the waves. Some visitors also try to walk towards the caves and grottos along the cliff. These cliffs are famous for the incredible basalt column formation, where the rock forms geometric shapes that looks almost like a giant natural wall made of hexagonal columns. These formations were created when hot lava cooled slowly and cracked into regular geometric patterns. It is an amazing geological structure that almost looks like artificial, as if carved by someone. From the beach, you can also see the famous sea stalks called Reynisfjara rising dramatically from the ocean. According to the Icelandic legend, these rocks were once trolls who were turned into stone by sunlight. We walked along the beach for a while, carefully staying at a safe distance from the water. Even so, my husband wanted to explore further. I preferred not to go too close to the waves. Here the ocean can change in seconds and a powerful wave could easily pull someone into the water. The landscape there feels almost otherworldly, like being on another planet. The black sand, the huge waves, the dark rocks, and the dramatic cliffs create a sense that is both beautiful and powerful. At one point, we took a break at a small cafe nearby where we enjoy a good cup of coffee and some traditional Icelandic cakes. Many of these desserts are made with skyr, a famous Icelandic dairy product that has been part of the local diet for more than 1,000 years, dating back to the Vikings. It was a nice moment to warm up and relax before continuing to explore the beach. Another reason this beach can be so dangerous is that many visitors try to climb the rocks and walk farther along the shore towards the caves and grottos near the cliff. These caves look incredibly beautiful from a distance, and inside they almost feel like something from a fantasy world, with dark volcanic walls and dramatic shapes created by the ocean. However, this is exactly where the real trap can occur. When people walk behind the large rocks or enter these caves, they may not realize that the ocean can suddenly send a powerful wave much further up the shore than expected. If a wave comes while someone is inside or behind the rocks, it can become extremely difficult to return safely to the open beach. Many accidents here happen because visitors underestimate how quickly the water can change. What looks calm at one moment can become dangerous within seconds. Interestingly, recent storms have also damaged parts of these rock formations, showing once again how powerful nature is along this coast. In a way, nature itself decided to remind people that this beautiful place must also be respected. Reynisfjara is truly an unforgettable place, dramatic, beautiful, and powerful, but it is also a place where safety should always come first. As we continue driving along the south coast of Iceland, we reached a very unusual and beautiful place called Laufskálavarða. At first glance, it looks like a field filled with hundreds and even thousands of small piles of stones. These stone piles, called cairns, have been built here by travelers for many centuries. This place has a long history. According to tradition, when people were traveling across Iceland, especially through these lava fields, they would stop here and place a small stone on one of the cairns. It was believed that doing this would bring good luck and a safe journey for the rest of the trip. Long ago, this area was considered difficult and sometimes dangerous to cross, especially in bad weather. So travelers created these stone markers both as navigation points and as a symbolic way to wish for protection on the road. Today, the tradition continues. Visitors still stop here, walk among the stones, and add a small rock to one of the paths. Of course, we decided to follow this old Icelandic custom as well. So I placed a stone on one of the cairns. It is a simple tradition, but somehow very meaningful, a small moment when you connect with the history of travelers who crossed Iceland long before modern roads existed. A little further along the road, the scenery changed again, and we entered a very unusual landscape known as Skaftáreldahraun. At first, it looks like a huge green carpet stretching across the land, but in reality, this is not grass at all. It is an enormous lava field formed after a massive volcanic eruption. In 1783, the volcanic fissure system Laugardalur erupted for many months, producing one of the largest lava flows in Icelandic history. Rivers of lava spread across the region and eventually cooled, creating this vast field of volcanic rock. Over the centuries, thick moss slowly covered the lava, transforming the black volcanic landscape into a soft green surface. The moss grows extremely slowly in Icelandic climate, which is why visitors are asked not to walk on it. Even a small footprint can remain visible for many years. Driving through this area feels almost surreal. The moss-covered lava stretches endlessly into the distance, and the landscape silence makes it feel almost untouched. It is another reminder of how powerful and dramatic Icelandic nature can be. Our next stop was Svartifoss, a very unusual and beautiful waterfall. Its name means Black Falls. The water received this name because of the dramatic black basalt columns surrounding it. These columns were formed when volcanic lava cooled slowly and cracked into geometric shapes, creating that looks almost like a natural stone wall behind the waterfall. Svartifoss is located in Skaftafell, which is part of the large Vatnajökull National Park. The area is well maintained and easy to access from the main road. Visitors usually park near the visitor center and then take a pleasant walking trail to reach the waterfall. When you finally arrive, the view is truly unique. The dark basalt columns frame the waterfall like a natural amphitheater, making Svartifoss look completely different from most other waterfalls in Iceland. It is another example of how Iceland constantly surprises travelers with landscapes that are both unusual and incredibly beautiful. When you drive along Route 1 in southern Iceland, in many places you suddenly begin to see glaciers appearing in the distance. Iceland is famous for its glaciers. About 10 to 11% of the entire country is covered by ice. And sometimes the road passes so close to the glaciers that you can stop and admire their beauty. That is exactly what we did. Along the way, we stopped at several places to enjoy the scenery. The landscape has changed constantly. One moment you see wide green valleys covered with moss and grass, and the next moment the white and gray surface of a glacier appears between the mountains. These green areas are incredibly beautiful. The moss grows thickly over the rocks, almost like a soft natural carpet. In many places you can also see Icelandic sheep grazing peacefully around the fields. Sheep are very important in Iceland and have lived on the island more than 1,000 years since the first Viking settlers arrived in the 9th century. Icelandic sheep are famous for their very special wool. The wool actually has two layers, an outer layer that protects the animal from rain and wind, and a softer inner layer that keeps it warm. Because of this, Icelandic wool is extremely warm and durable. Traditional Icelandic sweaters made from this wool are called lopapeyjasa. They are known worldwide for their beautiful Nordic knitting patterns. I personally love these sweaters very much. I knit myself and I really enjoy working with Nordic patterns. That is one of the reasons I often use Icelandic wool in my own knitting projects. Eventually we reach the area known as Skaftafell, which lies within Vatnajökull National Park. The national park covers about 14% of Icelandic territory, making it one of the largest protected natural areas in the country. Skaftafell itself is one of the most popular places for visitors who want to see glaciers up close. Several glaciers tongues extend from the enormous Vatnajökull ice cap, which is the largest glacier in Iceland and one of the largest ice masses in the world outside the polar region. The area is well maintained for visitors. There are parking areas, clear signs, and well-marked walking trails. These trails allow you to walk closer to the glacier and safe to observe the landscape. Many tourists come here to hike, explore the area, or take guided glacier tours. As you walk closer to the glacier, you can actually feel the temperature changing. Even if the day feels warm farther down in the valley, the air becomes noticeably colder as you approach the ice. It really feels like entering a natural refrigerator. One of the most striking things about the glacier is its color and texture. At this time of the year, the ice looks mixed with dark layers or stripes. These dark areas are not dirt. They are volcanic ash and dust that came from Iceland's many eruptions over the centuries. As snow falls and slowly turns into ice, these layers become trapped inside the glacier. Over time, the glacier slowly moves, carrying these layers along. That is why the surface sometimes looks like dramatic black and white pattern. When you look at the glacier from the distance, the landscape almost feels surreal, like you are watching an old black and white movie. The contrast between the white ice and the dark volcanic material is very striking. Near the glacier, you can sometimes see pieces of ice floating in the river. These pieces may look small from afar, but in reality they are massive blocks of ancient ice. Some of this ice may have formed hundreds or even thousands of years ago when snow accumulated layer by layer and slowly compressed into dense glacier ice. Standing near such ancient ice is quite an impressive experience. It reminds you how powerful and slow the forces of nature can be. Despite the cold environment, there is still plenty of life around the glacier. Spring was beginning to arrive when we visited. Small white flowers were starting to appear, birds were flying above the valley, and the surrounding hills were covered with green moss. Skaftafell is also famous for guided glacier walks and ice cave tours. Many visitors come here especially to explore the glacier with experienced guides. These tours allow people to walk on the ice and see deep crevasses and other fascinating glacial formation. However, glaciers are powerful and sometimes dangerous natural environments. Conditions can change quickly, and it's always important to follow safety rules and go only with proper equipment and experienced guides. We walked along the trail and came quite close to the glacier. We took pictures and spent some time simply observing the landscape. Watching the ice and the calm water nearby can be very relaxing. You could easily spend a long time here just enjoying the silence and the dramatic scenery. After spending some time there and enjoying this remarkable place, we slowly returned to our car and continued our journey towards the next destination of our day. Our next stop and the final destination of the days was the famous Jökulsárlón. This glacier lagoon is one of the most remarkable natural places in Iceland, and it's connected to the enormous Vatnajökull glacier. The lagoon began forming only about 90 years ago as the glacier slowly retreated from the coastline. Today it is the deepest lake in the Iceland, reaching depths of around 250 meters, and continues to grow as the glacier melts and moves. The most fascinating feature of this place is the floating icebergs. Large blocks of ice break away from the glacier and drift slowly through the lagoon. Some of them are bright white, while others have beautiful shades of blue. In many places, the ice is also dark or striped due to volcanic ash trapped within the glacier during past eruptions. Watching these floating pieces of the ice is almost hypnotic. From a distance, some of them may look small, but in reality, many of these icebergs are enormous and can contain ice that formed hundreds or even thousands of years ago. The lagoon is also full of wildlife. During our visit, we saw many seals swimming in the water, sometimes appearing right next to the floating ice. They seemed completely comfortable in this icy environment. We also saw a large number of seagulls and other seabirds flying around the lagoon and resting on the ice. Because the lagoon is connected to the Atlantic Ocean through the short river channel, it has become a very active ecosystem where marine animals, birds, and fish all gather. We spent quite a long time there simply watching the ice move slowly through the water. The landscape constantly changes, and every angle offers a different view. As the afternoon moved towards evening, the light became softer and warmer. The sun was slowly lowering towards the horizon, and the entire lagoon began to glow with different colors. At that moment, the place almost looked unreal, like a scene from a fairy tale. The reflection of the sky on the water, the floating ice, the birds, and the distant glacier create a truly magical atmosphere. Just across the road from the lagoon, there is another extraordinary place, often called Diamond Beach, where the current carries pieces of glacier ice onto the black volcanic sand. When the ice washes ashore, the contrast between the crystal clear ice and the deep black sand creates an incredible scene. These pieces of ice sparkles in the sunlight like diamonds scattered across the beach. This was the final stop of our journey for that day. After spending some time enjoying the incredible place, we began the long drive back. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel because we will continue to share more interesting moments from our travels, including the next day of our Iceland adventure. See you in our day 3 video.